Alright guys, so for the final time, we're talking about Cyberpunk 2077. Now I've made my fair share of videos on this game. Gotta be at least 5 on the channel at this point, and I absolutely hated this game when it came out. I'm putting that out there. I don't know what I gave it, this was a while ago. Couldn't have been higher than a 3. I absolutely shit on this game. I hated it, it didn't work, I hated the story, I hated everything about this game, right? But then, I wanted to play it again, because I chose to kill myself in the original ending. And I wanted to play a different ending, then the anime came out, then they announced the 2.0 update, then they announced this expansion, and so I kind of was just waiting for this expansion to come out, and to kind of put it all together, play it all again, see what they updated with 2.0, see if the expansion was any good, see how it's changed, right? So that's what we're doing today. We're going to start with 2.0, and then we're going to transition over into Phantom Liberty, the expansion. So if you don't really care about the 2.0 stuff, the stuff that basically they changed over the 2-ish years since the first major updates to these, then skip past all of this. This is just going to be talking about quality of life stuff, the gameplay changes, all of that stuff. And then if you want to actually talk about the expansion and Dogtown, the story, all of that good stuff, that'll be later on in the video. But let's talk about 2.0. So, as you can see, I've already been showing off a little bit of it. There's new mechanics, things like being able to shoot out of cars, there's new missions introduced with 2.0, side missions, and a couple of main missions and gigs here and there. You get more missions with returning characters like Judy and Panam and all of that stuff, phone conversations, and pretty much everything is reworked from the ground up. Now, I'm weird. I like graphics, okay? If you have graphics, you only need one of the other two components, story and gameplay. That's how I judge games. I don't know why I'm broken. I just like games to look good. If they look good, the story can be crap or the gameplay can be crap. My problem when this game came out was the game looked like trash, the gameplay was fine, and the story was trash. So, it didn't really have anything. But now, they changed a lot. So, the graphics, fantastic. I'll stop talking about them. I think I'm probably going to talk about them more, let's be real. But the gameplay, they changed everything. You don't have to look like an absolute idiot equipping the stupid ass clothes that, the game wants you to use the Johnny Silverhand jacket, so it gives that the best stats. You don't have to do that anymore. You can wear whatever clothes you want because everything is tied to your cyberware in the way it should be, in a game set in the future, where the most interesting thing is the futuristic technology and being able to augment yourself and all that cool shit. This is what the game should be set around. This is the way it should work. So if you look here on the left, you have your bar, and that red line is the maximum amount of cyberware that you can have. Each individual piece costs a certain amount of slots, depending on what it does. It makes your reload time faster, more health, headshot bonuses, and then active abilities, like the grenade launcher being able to jump higher, the mantis blades, stuff like that. And so with each ability, you have to slot in and out. Okay, do I want more armor, but it's going to cost me more cyberware slots? Or would I rather be able to, move more while detected or slow down time once I get detected, blah, blah, blah. All these different abilities that you can slot in and out. It's all now tied to your cyberware, which is absolutely fantastic, as well as your maximum health. It's all in here with everything. Pretty much every single gameplay mechanic other than what you are equipping in the skill tree is within the cyberware menu. And this works really well. It's a bit confusing at first, but you start out with the lowest rarity of cyberware at white, going all the way up to the gold rarity, which I assume is legendary, and then you get like the secret highest rarity legendary gear, right? The relics, I think is what they're called. And these are the unique pieces that, yes, they have the best stats that the legendary gear already has, but they have buffs. And so this is stuff like when you reload, you get a wave of shock damage around you. Your last bullet in your magazine does poison damage. Stuff like that for guns, and then the cyberware just has increased bonuses for the stuff that's already there. But this makes you feel like the cyberware actually matters, as the way it originally worked, yeah, it was cool, it did some things here and there, but now your entire playstyle is based around what you choose to equip here. And the other thing that's going to factor into your gameplay side of the game is your skill tree, right? There's still a skill tree, it still works fairly similar to how it did before, There's just more of it, and it's branched and sectioned together better than it was originally. So what do I mean by this? Well, you still have your same skills, your cool, your knowledge, your strength, all that good stuff, but it's locked in segments to where you have to invest trait points into the individual trait, the cool, the strength, the knowledge, whatever it may be, and then you get perk points to spend within that trait so that you can get the individual skills, jumping out of cars, sliding out of cars, hacking cars, all the hacking abilities, increasing your strength, your speed. And so there's really 3 components to the game now. Before, your inventory pretty much managed everything. Your cyberware did a little bit of your movement and like the mantis blades really, but what weapons and armor you had equipped was everything, and then there were some skills here and there that might help you along the way if you want to choose these main classes of hacker or brute or stealth, but now it's really narrowed down. Everything within the game works off of each other now, right? So the skill tree, yes, it breaks down. Do you want to go down this path with pistols and SMGs, with shotguns and assault rifles, with sniper rifles, with knives, with stealth, with hacking? Whatever you choose to go down, and there are enough skill points to go down multiple, that, coupled with what weapons you choose, coupled with what cyberware you have equipped, makes your playstyle. So it adds the 3 components together while allowing you to personalize it in a way that, 1, is more fun than it originally was and gives you more customization, but 2, makes way more sense and uses the setting's strength and actually lets you mess around with all the futuristic technology and stuff. Now, I don't want to be that guy, but I was that guy, right? When this game came out, I shit on it so bad. Like, I hated this game. I absolutely despised this game. I'm pretty sure it's on a most disappointed games of the year list, whatever year this game came out. But if you compare this to Starfield, this looks and plays 1,000 times better than Starfield. Look at the animations on some of the characters in this game, and then go and switch and look at Starfield, right? This game looks insane, and it plays better. The inventory management is better. While it uses a lot of the same systems, you still have all of these skill trees and this huge ass inventory with these consumables and all this stuff you can buy and sell and pick up and equip. It's still all there. It's all here, crafting, all of it. Same shit you can do in Starfield, but it's much more manageable, and it's in a system that makes a lot more sense to navigate and isn't a pain in the ass. Couple more things, just nitpicks at this point, right? The car system. The way it originally worked was you could acquire cars through doing missions, yes, but if you wanted to get a new car, you get a text through one of the many contacts in the game giving you a location of a possible car that you could go across and find, do a mission, or buy, right? That's still here a little bit, but for the most part, there's just vendors, and as you increase your street cred through doing main missions, side missions, gigs, all of that stuff, you get higher and higher street cred, and then you can buy better and better cars, right? It just works a lot better, feels a lot more intuitive into the game world, and not like you have to read a text and go drive out to the middle of nowhere. Now, speaking of text, I love phone menus. I don't know why I have a problem. I don't know what my issue is, but I like phone menus. I just like menus where I'm not going into a menu, right? If you look at, again, talking about Starfield, compare the Starfield menus to something like the journal in Red Dead Redemption 2, right? Or the phone menu in this game. Yes, it's still a menu. You're still doing the same thing. It's just instead of the background being a menu background, you're still in the game, right? Even if it slows down time or it's like a transparent phone menu like it is in this game, I just like that a lot more. I think it looks cooler. It just feels more immersive to me. Now, while we're on the topic of just a couple nitpicks, the game's not perfect. It's still buggy. It's never going to be perfect probably because this was their last update, but it's still broken. Cars fly across the screen. People T-pose, here and there. Stuff just randomly explodes. People spawn in weird places. The usual shit, right? Now, is it absolutely unplayable? No. I don't think I crashed at all. Let me check my notes real quick. Yeah, no, I didn't crash once, which is a lot better than the 21 crashes I had in the first 11 hours when the game first came out. But it's significantly more stable, but it still is broken. So if you're looking for that perfect experience, it's not there. I had a couple missions where my mission marker was visible, or the people I needed to talk to I couldn't interact with, or like I got solar flared from the sun and I couldn't see in the open world. So I had to restart probably a good 5 or 6 times. So it helps if you just restart your game every single time you launch it again. It helps it run a lot smoothly, and it's not gonna always be a problem, but I did run into problems still. So that's my opinion on Cyberpunk 2.0, right? If you don't want to hear about the expansion and don't want things spoiled and you want everything kind of just summarized nicely for you, the gameplay and the graphics are greatly overhauled from this update. It's essentially what they promised. Now, the story, I still hate the story of this game. I think Johnny's incredibly annoying. I really forgot he was in the game. I launched it and I still hate him. I still think he's very annoying, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I don't think that the story here is great. The side missions, like I say in my original video, that's from 2-3 years ago. The side missions and the gigs and the side characters, Panam, Judy, River, all of them, the cop lady, don't remember her name. I want to say it's Yuri, but that might be the lady from Spider-Man. Anyways, that's all fantastic, right? That all works very well. Those characters are great. It's really just Johnny. I really just hate him. I don't think he has any redeeming qualities. I think he's incredibly annoying. He doesn't shut the hell up. And I feel absolutely nothing for the man, and that's why I hate the ending of this game. And honestly, the whole second half. I have no positive feelings for the character, and it kind of makes the story pointless, in my opinion. That was my problem with the game. So if I had to give this 2.0 new Cyberpunk a rating out of 10, it'd probably sit at a 7, right? The gameplay and the graphics are good, the side missions and all of that are great, but the story's weak and it still has a lot of bugs. So that's where I would put 2.0. Let's go ahead and transition and go talk about Phantom Liberty, because this shit is fantastic. So Phantom Liberty. I didn't want to talk spoilers about this expansion, and I still don't want to, because it's very good, and I want you to play it and experience it on your own, but there's no way to talk about how good it is without talking about spoilers. And with Spider-Man being out, and then we're going to be transitioning into Call of Duty time pretty soon, if you've wanted to play this, you've probably played it, and I'll try to stay away from spoilers for as long as I can in the video, but we are going to get there eventually. So let's start by talking about what is the expansion. So you're called to Dogtown, right? This new little sub-region within the map, within Night City. And it looks small. On the map, it looks tiny, but it's much more dense than the dense game Night City already is. It's very packed. Everything is very close together. There's vendors and just stuff to do everywhere. The verticality is insane. So many buildings and just outside areas have elevators and different levels to them. So while it looks small and like you're paying $30 for a relatively small size and not a lot to explore, there's a lot here. Between the new gigs they added in the 2 years that I didn't play for Cyberpunk 2.0 and the Phantom Liberty expansion, I spent about 30 hours back with this game. So there's plenty to do here. The expansion is around 20 hours depending on how much of it you do. So I feel like, especially with the quality of what's in the expansion, it's well worth it. So Dogtown is kind of a slum area of Night City, even though you might have thought the game already looked like a slum area. It's where all of these people come in and do their illegal business and trades, and it has the casinos and the high-rise penthouses and all that stuff, but it's also very gang-oriented and slummy, right? So before we get into the story stuff and we talk spoilers, let's go a little bit into the gameplay and talk about what's going to be different from the main Cyberpunk experience. So a mastercraft in game design, the first thing this game does when you go into Dogtown, get into this new region, come back to the game for the first time, they throw you into the stadium, which is just a big vendor pool with all of the highest quality gear in the game. So it says it doesn't matter what level you were when you stopped playing Cyberpunk or if this is a new character, here's all of the current best stuff in the game, choose what you want, which is fantastic. Because someone like me, always being prepared, of course, I loaded back into Cyberpunk, changed out my cyberware, my weapons, my clothes, all of that stuff, but when realistically you could have just gone straight into the expansion and they give you immediately, before the story picks up, the option to do all of that right then and there, which is fantastic. That's just like game design 101. That's beautiful. All right, so that's the start. Gameplay wise, your weapons and all that stuff relatively function the same. You have a lot more of the smart laser weapons that can shoot through walls, bounce off of objects, shoot through objects, all of that good stuff. But for the most part, your weapons are going to work the same. You have weaponized vehicles now that have missiles and machine guns on them, but they don't really come into play that often. If you're someone who likes to play the GTA style run around, kill cops, and just go crazy having fun in the open world, it can come into play, but for the most part, it's not really story-wise going to be used too many times here or there. Well, it is a nice addition. For the most part, your weapons are all the same. You get more skill points to work with the original skill tree, and then you get this new skill tree, which is probably the weakest point in the new gameplay systems. There's a couple of cool skills here, like upgrading the grenade launcher arm to launch multiple projectiles. There's stuff for the mantis blades, the mono wire. And while they're good additions, they're something that, for an expansion, I think they could have gone a little bit crazier with. They could have gone a little bit more over the top with this relic skill tree. The points themselves you'll find just running around the map. You'll hear them beeping and get an indicator on your HUD to go pick them up. They're not too impressive, but they do help here or there. And that's the one other thing I want to say, as someone who did everything in the original game and then went into this expansion with close to $1 million, being able to outfit my character in any way that I want with the highest level gear accessible to me. You're incredibly overpowered, like incredibly. You're gonna one-shot everybody, even bosses, you'll like 4-shot. So if you don't want to do that, maybe start a new character or choose to spend your skills differently than I do. Maybe use weapons you like instead of focusing on stats, but you are insanely overpowered. There's no fight where you're going to feel like you might even remotely lose. And on one hand, while I can see how that can be annoying and stupid and frustrating, it's all build based. So I spent a long time, probably an hour and a half, just sitting there remaking my character, building everything within the skill tree, my cyberware, everything to focus on hacking, right? To make my hacking as good as possible. So you see how many RAM points I have up there on the top left corner of the screen? You can just hack and hack and hack and hack and hack and hack over and over again. Now it doesn't mean you don't have to have good weapons, and there's plenty of good weapons that you can buy and find within the missions, but if you choose, like I do, to go down the hacking tree because that's what you like, you can be incredibly overpowered if you focus your whole build on that. I'm sure the same thing goes for stealth and melee weapons and ranged weapons, and whatever you choose to focus on, you can be incredibly overpowered within that system. Now, I'm not saying that the game isn't fun because of that, because I enjoy being overpowered and just absolutely hacking the absolute shit out of everybody, but if that's not your thing, maybe up the difficulty, again, choose to start a new character so you're not as incredibly overpowered. Now, one of the final things, another change that they made within the gameplay that I want to talk about, is if you're like me and you like to pick up absolutely everything, right? You're absolutely a maniac. So whether it's to sell those items or dismantle them for crafting components, that's a big thing here, because you have the end game gear, and yes, enemies will drop relic gear here and there that are really, really good, but for the most part, you have access to the best gear in the game. So the only way to get even better and upgrade yourself even more is with crafting components, by dismantling stuff to get the highest level crafting components to upgrade your cyberware to level 5, and then 5+, and then 5++, and then 5+++. Right? That's what your core gameplay loop is of upgrading, spending all of your time collecting weapons from enemies, dismantling them, and then fitting them to your build however you may see fit. Now, the problem with this is your cyberware capacity. It starts out relatively low. If you spend a lot of skill points focusing on it, you can get it increased a fair bit. But if you really want it up there, you have to spend time in combat with enemies, because enemies drop cyberware shards as well as carrying capacity shards. As you pick these up, these increase your overall ability to obviously carry more items, or your cyberware capacity, each one giving you a few points here or there. There's also individual perk points that aren't related to the skill tree at all, such as Headhunter and Shinobi and stuff like that, where if you play as a certain playstyle, you will passively get boosts to that playstyle, and there's shards for those as well. But these shards are such an important part of the gameplay if you're going to focus on cyberware. If you want to have the maximum amount of stuff you can have slotted in to be as insanely overpowered as you can be, you have to be looting the enemies, picking up these shards to become the ultimate weapon of just legendary relic cyberware, where you're just insane. I got to the point where you have the ability to have cyberware that when you drop below a certain percentage of health, it automatically refills a quarter of your health. And you can have that as a passive ability on multiple pieces of cyberware. So you get to the point where as you hit 25% health, you automatically go back up to full health. You just become invincible. I didn't heal once in this entire expansion. It was fantastic. If you focus on your build and making the best build possible, you can become absolutely unstoppable. It's not necessary, and you don't have to do it, but it's an option, and I like that it is. Alright guys, so this is where we talk spoilers. Now we're going to start talking about the story. And so, almost all of my gameplay is from the first hour and a half of the expansion. So gameplay-wise, you're going to be okay. You're not going to see any end boss fights, you're not going to see any of the decisions, but I'm going to talk about it. So, I'm just warning you now. That was your warning. So, what is this expansion? You go to Dogtown, you meet Songbird immediately, that's this woman you've seen like 4 times, and she works with the president, right? The president's plane, their space plane, gets shot down and crashes into Dogtown. You have to figure out why it got shot down, who shot it down, and how to stop them, right? And so why are you doing this? Why is this important? Well, Songbird, the Asian woman with red hair, or So-Mi, her real name, can help you get cured from the relic, get cured from Johnny, get him out of your head. That's what she says. That's what she promises you by you helping her help the president, right? And so that's kind of your pull, your draw into the expansion. You have to save the president, save Dogtown, defeat the bad guy, all of that good stuff. But then it becomes, of course, a lot more complicated because it splits. The game essentially splits you down 2 paths. While you are saving the president, you're going through all these missions, keeping her safe. Eventually, around 2.5, 3 hours in, you end up getting her to a safe house, a temporary safe spot within Dogtown where you don't have to worry about her, and she's kind of removed from the story for the majority of it. I would say she's in the first 2 hours heavily, and then after that, you don't really see her again until the end. So then it becomes focus on Idris Elba's character, Solomon Reed, and Songbird, right? And so they're old friends. These are like Secret Service people working for the president. And you're trying to figure out why they attacked the president and what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And again, I didn't record a lot of the gameplay because I didn't want to spoil it. But essentially what it boils down to is Songbird, aka So-Mi, is dying from some sort of disease where she reached into like the dark web and used AI beyond the dark web to try to help the president, and that's slowly killing her. So she made a deal with the bad guys to take down the president's plane and, you know, politics stuff, and then it would cure So-Mi and we'd be good to go. So this is where we get the split. You either have to side with So-Mi and trying to help her help herself, which in turn would help you, but you're siding with the bad guy that is attacking the president, or you have to side with Idris Elba, who's trying to protect the president and take down the bad guy. The problem is, Idris Elba is also split because he likes Songbird, aka So-Mi, and he also wants to protect the president. So you see what I'm saying? You're like split 4 ways, and you don't know which one to choose, because everyone's making sense. This expansion is so fucking good. The story is fantastic. Idris Elba in this, I don't think I have a single fucking clip because I didn't want to spoil it. But the dude is fantastic. He's so good in this. He looks so fucking good. It looks like he's there in real life. This expansion, Jesus Christ, it's good. Alright, let me get back on track. So, you get to this point within the story where you're trying to save So-Mi, both from her disease and from being held captive and blackmailed by Hansen, the bad guy who owns the region. But then, you're also trying to save the president with Idris Elba's character, Solomon Reed, and you're also trying to kill the bad guy. You see what I'm trying to explain here? It's a very complicated subplot to explain. You're trying to save both the president and So-Mi, but the only way to save So-Mi is by siding with Hansen, the leader of the region, and the only way to save the president is by killing that guy. So not only are you split both between do you want to save the president or do you want to save Somi and side with Reed, but Reed is also split. So you got like a 6-way split here, right? And I'm already getting worked up again, but it's absolutely fantastic. You don't know who to trust. Both people are lying to you constantly throughout the entire story, just giving you the truth in bits and pieces. You don't know who's good and who's bad. No clue who to trust, right? And the best part about all of this is that no matter what you choose, no matter which way you choose to go, the last like 2.5 hours of this expansion are completely different based off what you choose. If you choose to side with Songbird and betray the president and just try to save yourself and save Songbird, that's one ending. And then if you try to side with Reed and try to save Songbird yourself and kill Hansen, that's a completely different ending. And it's absolutely fucking fantastic either way you choose. And so let me break down the ending that I got, which is considered the good ending, and then I'll fill you in on what's considered the bad ending. Alright, now that I've taken a moment to calm down, the ending that I got, you choose to side with Reed, which you end up tricking Somi, and you try to capture her. Obviously, this goes to shit. She gets captured by Max Tech, which is like the SWAT team of Night City. They take her, you have to free her, and she's being controlled by this rogue AI, right? From beyond the dark web, what's it called? The black wall in this game, right? This rogue AI is trying to control her, while you're also trying to get her back, while they're also trying to arrest her for attacking the president. It's a whole just web, right? And so you choose to betray her. She doesn't like you. She is angry at you. She flees into this bunker when you try to free her. And then you ultimately get into this like alien isolation stealth section where if you get detected, you die and gotta do it all over again. But once you get past all of that, you get to Somi and you have to choose within this ending whether you want to try to save her or you want to kill her, right? She's being taken over by this AI, and it's very possible that they're just going to experiment on her, and just her life's gonna absolutely suck if you don't kill her. But she'll be alive, and they can possibly save her. And there's a higher chance of you being saved, if she's saved. Then, you can just kill her. So those are the two options within the good ending. So, what I chose to save her. You take her back to the FIA, which is just like the Secret Service within the new USA, and they try to cure her. It goes back and forth. They kind of keep it open to interpretation. They don't really tell you if she's alive and just kind of a slave to the president or how that all works, if they just have her imprisoned. They don't really specify too much on it, right? They try to keep it vague. But more importantly, you and Reed are still cool, which is Idris Elba's character. He ends up getting demoted and like goes to an office job, blah blah blah. I know this sounds like a bad ending, but trust me, it's the good ending. And then you ultimately get to choose, do you want to get the relic out of you? Now, the split here, where most people would have a problem with this decision, obviously with the Somi decision, it's do I want her in prison forever or do I want to kill her? Two hard decisions, right? But then you had the decision to take the relic out. Option one is you keep it in and stick with the game's original ending where either you die or Johnny takes over. Or option two, you remove Johnny and he dies. Which to me is the perfect ending, because like I said 15 minutes ago, I fucking hate Johnny. I find him incredibly annoying. I can't stand him. So obviously, I had no problem with this. So I kicked that motherfucker out and I got rid of him. Thank God, never have to hear him again. But the problem with this, the only negative to this choice, is you're in a coma for 2 years and everybody, I mean everybody, moved on and forgot about you in Night City. People don't live there. Judy's gone, Panam's gone, Victor, your Ripper Doc, is the only one left, and he's too busy with the corpo shit. He does not care, right? Everyone's moved on. You can't become a merc anymore because you can't use cyberware because of what they had to do affected your nervous system. So you just have to be a normal ass peasant in Night City. And that's how the game ends, right? You save Reed, you save Somi, you save the president, you kill Johnny, and ultimately you become a normal pedestrian. That is the good ending of this expansion, and it adds a new ending to the game. The story is so good because I know I skipped over so much. If you actually play this expansion, there's a lot in between that I skipped, but it's just like, it's a fucking Mission Impossible game. That's what this is. You don't know who to trust, you don't know who's good and who's bad, and everyone's telling secrets and secret agent shit. It's fantastic. Now, let me go over the bad ending. So if you choose to portray Reed instead of Somi, you get a entirely different ending, and this is kind of the fixation point, right? About 70% through the expansion, you have to either choose to portray Reed or Somi. If you choose to portray Reed, which is Idris Elba, you ultimately side with Somi, you help her escape. She still goes like crazy and shit, but in this version, which, like I said, this is again a 2.5 hour unraveling that's completely different. You go to an airport instead of an underground bunker. You have to fight Reed. You have to choose if you want to kill Reed or kill Somi. Everybody fucking hates you. This is the bad ending, right? Now, the set pieces, because I didn't play this ending, I just watched it. The set pieces are pretty fucking cool. It looks fantastic, but it's a cool ending, and ultimately, again, if you liked Johnny and like you don't like the sad ending of V becoming a peasant and having to retire, they're both bad endings, which I have absolutely no problem with. This just makes a better ending than the original game, right? I hated the ending of the original game. I mean, I hated the original game, period, but this ending is 1,000 times better, right? It keeps you engaged the entire way, right? There was no point where I was bored. I was constantly either dumbfounded by how good this game looks, or incredibly dumbfounded by the animation and all of like the texture work and all that shit on Idris Elba's character, or trying to figure out if I should trust Somi or not. It's so good. This expansion is so fucking good. I'm giving this a score, and honestly, this 32 minutes in, fuck it, I'm putting this on my best games of the year list. I don't care. Technically this game came out like 3 years ago. Don't care, it's going on the list. Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty gets a 9 out of 10. Aside from the bugs and an annoying set of side missions where you have to deliver cars, this is fantastic. This is peak gaming. It looks good, it plays good, the story's good. Nothing about this is bad at all. I don't know what to say. Play this now. This is fantastic. I highly recommend you play it if you liked the original game, and I highly recommend you play it if you hated the original game, because it changes everything the original game did and just makes it better, right? So that's my video on Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. Now that I've absolutely worn myself out from recording this video, you guys let me know what you think of the expansion, who you sided with, what ending you got, and what your favorite mission was, what your favorite part of this expansion was, down in the comments below. And I'll see you guys on the next one.